It's nice to see so many people joining us today for the second of six workshop in Luther College's Growing Nonprofit Leaders Series this fall. What a wild and windy weekend we had, hey? I was working in my office on Saturday afternoon and I saw some pretty large objects like all three City of Regina bins, the brown, the blue, and the green one, fly by my window. Now we're back to summer conditions. Well, despite the craziness of our climate, I'm so grateful to live, work, and enjoy life in Treaty 4 territory on the traditional lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Nakota, Dakota, and Lakota First Nations in the homeland of Métis. And I'm also so grateful just to be part of, Luther College, and I'm appreciative of anybody joining us from community today. With Luther College's nonprofit communication students for what I know is going to be another great workshop. I see a few familiar faces from our last session a couple of weeks ago with Bonnie Zink on how to leverage AI tools like ChatGPT and Microsoft Copilot for strategic communications. The link to the recording will be up on the Luther website soon. Thank you for your patience as we've been, if you've been waiting for follow-up from that session. And what a great session that was. I know that I am so excited about diving deeper into some of the tools that Bonnie introduced us to in that session. Before I turn things over to yet another amazing presenter, I just want to thank Luther College and South Saskatchewan Community Foundation for sponsoring these professional development opportunities. And just remind you to, if you haven't already signed up for the next session, Monday, October 21st, same time, same place, 10 a.m. to 11:30 on Zoom for our next session when multiple award-winning communications professional Sabrina Catalda is going to lead us through the storytelling process. There's also still time to register for the Reimagining Nonprofits Conference taking place at Luther College on Friday and Saturday, October 18th and 19th. I guess that's next weekend already. Gosh. We'll stick a link in the chat so you can check out all the great sessions and activities lined up for that. Now, with no further ado, I'm excited to introduce you to Evie Johnny Ruddy today. Evie is a digital media artist and an assistant professor in creative technologies and design in the Faculty of Media, Art, and Performance. And this is Evie's first semester in a tenure track position at the University of Regina, but they are no stranger to to Regina or the U of R. They have more than 10 years of experience working in the creative industries, including as a communications and marketing strategist, podcast producer, video editor, and freelance journalist. Evie has taught several sessional classes and is a very popular teacher. And what I've always appreciated about Evie is that community needs are always at the center of the research they do. And I've been following their career for many years. And Evie, I can tell you, is a gifted storyteller and creative and talented, doesn't even begin to describe them. You may have heard Evie on the news this summer talking about Buffalo Futurism. They were the project coordinator and sound editor for this amazing Indigenous augmented reality experience. We'll pop another link in the chat momentarily that will take you to the Commonweal Community Arts page, which has information about this amazing experience. Maybe you also went on one of Evie's walking tours, Queering the Queen City, which documents place-based stories told by queer, trans, non-binary, and two-spirit residents, or Village Voices, which takes you on a narrated tour of the Cathedral Village. If you type eviejohnny.ca into your browser, you can see their amazing website, which does such a great job showcasing their work. Now I'm so pleased to turn things over to Evie. I can't tell you how grateful we are, Evie, for you preparing this presentation for us today. We know how busy you are as a first time in a tenure track position faculty member. The time you took to prepare this presentation and join us today, and to your willingness to share your knowledge and experience with us is just means so much to us.
Thank you so much, Lynn, for that introduction. That was, fabulous and very humbled to receive that introduction. Yeah, so as Lynn mentioned, I'm a new faculty member in the Faculty of Media Art and Performance in Creative Technologies and Design at the U of R. And I've also worked, for over 10 years in the communications and marketing industry, in the creative industries. And yeah, Lynn touched on a lot of the stuff that I do, but storytelling is a really central to my work, especially in my audio walking tours. They're all narrative driven. And so I'm going to share a little bit about making stories, but specifically for smartphone videos. And just before I begin, I want to say that I could do a whole class on some of these issues. Like I could do a whole class on shooting videos using a smart device, or even just on recording audio. And so in the next hour and a half, this is going to be a high level overview of these topics, but I will focus in a bit more on storytelling techniques. And we're also going to do towards the end of the workshop, towards the end of the presentation, a hands-on tutorial using CapCut. So I'm not sure if everybody was sent the link for CapCut, but we could also potentially pop it in the chat at some point. And so that's a free app that you can use to edit videos on your smart device, or you can also use it on a desktop as well. So the other thing that I want to mention is that in putting this presentation together, I learned that there is such a thing as the top 100 most engaging nonprofit video posts on social media. And one online article that I read on classy.org, which is a fundraising platform that's affiliated with GoFundMe, says that the majority of the top 100 most engaging nonprofit videos were made with smartphone cameras. And I'm going to quote them here. So they write, no lighting or audio equipment and minimal graphics. And then they go on to say, quote, it turns out engagement isn't about how flashy your video is, it's about the story you tell. And so we can really captivate audiences and your own followers. If you're working for a nonprofit organization and you're responsible for social media, you can really captivate your followers through good storytelling, even if you don't have professional experience as a filmmaker or a videographer. So what we're going to cover in the next hour and a half are key aspects of online video storytelling, brief overview of shooting videos with a smart device, briefly some tips on recording audio with a smart device, and then I will do a hands-on tutorial on editing videos with CapCut. What I'm going to focus on today is making videos specifically for Instagram Reels. So Instagram Reels are short form videos that were inspired by TikTok. It was Instagram's response to how popular TikTok videos were. You may remember it was just mostly a photo sharing app. So you can see here, I've circled where you would find the Reels in the Instagram app. This is the newsfeed or the grid, and then these are the videos. And then down here, you can also find them within the app. So according to HubSpot, Instagram Reels generate about 40% more engagement than Instagram videos. And they aren't heavily produced, and they have kind of this DIY or do-it-yourself aesthetic to them. So you can, for example, talk directly to the camera, to your followers, and engage them that way, which is very popular on both TikTok and in Instagram Reels. Or you can use video clips from your phone that you would then edit together and add transitions. You might add text to the screen, and you might record voiceover and tell a story. And that's the one we're going to focus on today with CapCut. So some key aspects of online video storytelling are, number one, keep it short. And I cannot stress this enough. Even if you think about your own scrolling habits and how you consume media on social media, just in particular videos, when I think about it, I often don't even tap into the video to hear the sound. So I have all of my videos automatically muted. And something really has to grab me in order for me to tap in to watch it. So another key aspect is always having captions. I'll often just watch videos with just by reading the text, reading the captions, and not even listening to the sound. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't have music to add another emotional element. That could be a bonus for those people who do tap in. But the key here is keeping it short. So when Instagram first introduced Reels, your reel could only be 15 seconds maximum, but now you can have up to 3 minutes if you use the Instagram app to make the video. Or they can be even longer if you use an external app such as CapCut. But again, shorter is better. So I would suggest that you aim, for a video that's even between 30 seconds and 1 minute. So another key aspect for online video storytelling is that you want to try to hook the viewer right away. And this can be done with a compelling visual. It can be done with, a shocking fact or a shocking statistic if you're trying to raise awareness. Or it can even be done emotionally, like if you can grab the viewer emotionally and draw them in that way. But this is essential because there are so many videos online that are competing for your followers' attention. And so how are you going to make your video stand out? And so it's really key to try to hook that viewer within the first 4 to 5 seconds of the video. So how do you do that? So it took me a while actually to find these examples of like really good videos that I think, and by nonprofit organizations or raising awareness, et cetera, showing how the organization is making an impact. So it took me a while to find these, but I found 2 examples that I'm going to play for you about how I think that these videos hook the viewer right away. So there are many reasons why you might make a video for a nonprofit organization. And, for example, you might want to raise awareness about an issue, which I mentioned, or you might want to show the work of your nonprofit and how it's making a real impact or a real difference in people's lives. And so this video here is what I would call an impact video. It's showing the impact of a nonprofit organization that's called Eat, Learn, Play. And this organization holds playground design sessions. So the organization will go, I think they're going into schools. I don't know, I'm not totally familiar with the organization, but they'll go to where children are and they'll hold design sessions with them. And they'll ask them, what would your ideal playground look like? And then they will draw what their playground looks like. And then this organization builds the playgrounds. And so let's watch the video. Okay, and I'm actually going to stop it there because I actually think this video goes on and on and on. So it's a little bit long, but it caught my attention right away. And so I want to ask, I'll go back here. How is this nonprofit organization hooking the viewer right away, in your opinion? So you could type it in the chat if you want, or you could raise your hand. Anybody want to give a guess or share? Yep. Colleen.
It's me. I think what really strikes me is that it shows how they're responding to the needs of their community. That's kind of what I noticed the first. Like I guess the community that they're serving, in this case, children, and they're really responsive to what they're listening to their target audience, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And you see it right away. Within seconds, you're seeing the transformation. So in the chat, there's colorful images. The drawings from the kids are really key, and idea to implementation, which is actually exactly it. Idea. So this is their goal. They're trying to empower children and make their dreams come true. And you see it within the first 4 to 5 seconds, idea to implementation. So there's also short captions. The first caption is, when they dream it, we build it. And then the visuals support that. So, and the visuals again are drawings that are turned into reality. And then you see, if we get to it, I didn't get to it, but at the end, you see children playing and enjoying the parks. So you actually see the impact, like the direct impact on the children, if we were to keep going. Okay, so this video here, this is a different approach from the other one. So the other one, there is storytelling in it, but it's using visuals primarily to do the storytelling. And for this one, the storytelling, I would say, is primarily in the audio narration, but also with the video supporting that. So this video was posted to Blueland's Instagram Reels. Blueland sells eco-friendly cleaning products and also focuses on eco-friendly packaging. I wasn't familiar with this organization, but maybe you are. And I would say that this video is raising awareness. It's also it's both raising awareness and it's an impact video, so showing the impact. And so let's watch this reel and let's pay attention to how it also hooks you right away, but also I would suggest paying attention to the storytelling and how it's narrative driven.
On the beach wearing plastic, so I took out my handy bag of hermit crab shells and gave him a few houses to choose from. He liked the black stripe one. Good choice. In 2010, I started finding an abundance of these crabs with beach trash homes. It's a huge problem over here in Okinawa, Japan. So I decided to start the crab conservation project called Make the Switch for Nature. These beautiful hermit crabs are not born with shells, so to protect their bodies, they actually have to go looking for them. They don't like living in plastic, but there's not many shell options on the beach anymore. Now I go to the beach pretty much daily, searching for these hermit crabs. And when I do find a hermit crab, the first thing I do is I offer it a variety of shells. The switch takes anywhere from 45 seconds to 30 minutes. Once the hermit crab moves on, I keep the discarded plastic for my collection, and I currently have 151 caps collected. I use donated tapestry turbans from organizations and just kind people that want to support the project. What I usually do is I will carve a positive message on the backside of one of the shells. My hope is that the messages can brighten someone's day. They can also learn about the situation and stop collecting shells from the beaches. With the help of the community, we have placed over 5,000 shells in the coastal forest. Hermit crabs are so important for the ecosystem. We gotta start protecting them for future generations. I found this little guy walking on the beach wearing plastic.
Okay, so if you didn't catch the opening, I found this little guy walking on the beach wearing plastic, or it was something like that. And so how is this video hooking the viewer right away? I will say that I didn't even know about this until I watched this video, and now I can't stop thinking about it. And because, well, I'll tell you what I think, but after I hear from you. So how is this video hooking the viewer right away? Again, you can type it in the chat if you want, or raise your hand. Emotional connection. Yes. Shock factor. Unexpected story. Yeah, both of those. Emotional storytelling, definitely. So I was drawn in right away from the through emotion, I think, and shock factor. Like I didn't know, not knowing this. Whoops. Let me go back here. Uh-oh. I cannot go back. There we go. Okay, how is this video shocking? Yeah, so through emotion and through shock factor. And one of the most important elements, as I mentioned, of an effective reel is emotion. So within this one, there actually is a variety of things happening. So the viewer is being hooked with conflict. Like there's a problem, and there's an obstacle or there's tension. So like the issue of the crabs are not supposed to be wearing plastic, right? And then they capture us through the emotion. So in trying to incorporate universal emotions into your storytelling is really key. Like we've all experienced joy, we've all experienced grief or loss. We know what it feels like to belong or to be excluded. So if you can incorporate those universal emotions into your storytelling right from the start, then you're more likely to bring the audience in. Another thing that's happening here is that the storyteller is kind of building a relationship with the crowd. Like we're seeing the storyteller kind of identify with the crab and supporting and caring for the crab in the way it's written. So if we read the first opening, it says, "I found this little guy walking on the beach wearing plastic." So right away, I'm like, why is this crab wearing plastic? So I took out my handy bag of hermit crab shells and gave him a few houses to choose from. So like giving, like recognizing that, you know, the crab has tastes and emotions potentially, right? So he liked the black striped ones. Good choice. So it's just like really nice storytelling. And then also all of these aspects are hooking the viewer, and these are all part of the script writing. So a third aspect to good storytelling is writing a compelling script that involves telling a story. So there are a few different ways that actually that video that we just watched could have been told. Like they could have gathered statistics about how many crabs are dying because they're getting stuck in plastic. That is not going to grab us in the same way that crafting it into a narrative and a personal story is going to grab us. And so when we listen to stories, we're actually far more likely to connect and be engaged than if we listen to facts. So I'm going to give you a little bit of science here. So when listening to facts, there are only two areas of your brain that are lit up. So there's the Broca's area and the Wernicke's area. And these are responsible for speech comprehension. So basically these areas are just taking the sounds that you're hearing and allowing you to understand their meaning, to decode them. But when you're listening to a story, there are many more areas of your brains that are activated. And so a study that came out of Princeton University found that after scanning the brains of a storyteller and a listener, the listener's brain activity mirrored that of the storyteller. It's called speaker-listener neural coupling. And so we can also see that here when listening to stories. Like if I were listening to a story about wasps, this corresponds with like, I don't know, frustration, fear. Story about peace, then it corresponds with, you know, happiness, spiders, sad, and then I always, this one, love. I don't know what this face, I think it's like excitement or something, or surprise, right? At falling in love. But yeah, so the Princeton study also found that the brain doesn't distinguish between hearing or watching a story and experiencing it. So as you're actually, like if you were watching your favorite movie, let's say it's, I don't know, a rom-com, and it gets to the climax where they're in love, then you're watching this, your brain thinks you're actually experiencing this in real life. And that's because the same parts of the brain are activated. Same with if I were to describe like the smell of good coffee in the morning, or like a greasy pepperoni pizza, right? Like, so your olfactory senses, the part of your brain that's responsible for olfactory senses, those would be activated. And so that means that storytellers have a lot of power over the listener, and we can really make people feel things. And so I want to share some tips for writing a compelling script. So when I worked for CBC Radio, one of the things that I learned was that we should, before going out to interview someone, that we should write a focus statement to really hone in on what's the essence of the story that you're telling. And so the way that I have put this into practice for myself is I always ask myself, what is the story about? Like, what's the story about that you want to share? And then what is the story really about? So if we look at, I actually learned this in a magazine writing course at Ryerson University, where the instructor was like, every story is about something, but it's actually really about something deeper. And so, you know, to figure out your focus statement, you ask these two questions. And then the answer to the second question, what is it really about, is your focus statement. Now, a focus statement is one sentence. So it can be a run-on sentence, but it can only be one sentence. So, because you really want to just succinctly summarize what am I actually really trying to convey here? So Once you figure out your focus statement, I always write it at the top of my script. And then everything that I write in the script has to relate back to that focus statement. And again, because these videos are so short, you really don't want to have extra details that don't relate back to the essence of what you're trying to tell or trying to show. Even if you were going to do an interview with someone, a video interview with someone, all the questions that you ask should try to really get at the deeper meaning of what you're trying to convey. So I'm going to give you some practical examples to just sort of ground this. So we can use the two videos that we just watched to try to figure out potentially what their focus statement was. And so maybe I'll do the first one for you. So the first video that we watched with the children's drawing the playgrounds and then the organization building them. So if I ask, what is this story about? I would say the story is about children drawing playgrounds and the organizations building what they draw. Like that's what it's about. So it's kind of like the literal message, the literal meaning. That would be the answer to the first question, a literal description. But what's the video really about? So I would say it's really about how this organization is making children's dreams come true and how they're supporting their agency in the design process and the joy that these playgrounds are bringing children. And so that focus statement is everything I tell, everything I show, I want to show that. I want to show the joy. I want to show how children are being empowered in the design process. I want to show how the organization is literally turning their ideas into reality, right? So I think I'm a slide behind here. So let's do the next one, the next video that we watched about the crabs being impacted. What would you say this story is about? Maybe somebody wants to raise their hand or put it in the chat. Yes, Carrie?
It's about not collecting shells from the beach so that the hermit crabs will be able to find a home.
Sure, yeah. So it's it could be about how hermit crabs are using plastic waste because there's a dearth of other shells for their homes. Yeah. That's what it's about. And it's also about one person's efforts, I would say, to help the crabs, right? So we've got in the chat here, a crab experiencing an environment that is unusual. Yep. And so if we were to come up with what is the story really about? So I'll just, for time's sake, I will say that, in my opinion, it's about how we're all connected. Like right away, when I see the plastic that the crab is using, carrying around, it kind of looks to me like a cap for a bottle that I use. Like, I'm like, oh, I purchase those and I discard them. So right away, I'm brought into it. So it's about how my behaviors are having an impact on other living beings. It's about my consumption practices and how they directly impact other living beings, and showing people that our actions can make a difference in the way that, you know, what this person who's telling the story is doing and how they're going out of their way to care for the crabs, right? So it's also about relationship. And so that would be in one sentence, the focus statement, and I would try to convey that through the script that I write. So I'm going to guess that that person who's talking in the video probably wrote that script and then delivered it in a casual way. And if they had that focus statement at the top, just making sure that everything they're saying illustrates that. So the next thing that I would say, and this is another really key aspect for writing a script, is to show, don't tell. I'm sure you've heard this before. It comes up a lot in creative writing courses. And what I mean by this is I don't mean show visuals, don't talk. I mean, try to illustrate through examples and through anecdotes what you want to convey. So this is where it would kind of come back to a mix of facts and storytelling. So, you know, if we were to look at the video with the crabs, like I had said before, they could have used a lot of facts, and that would be telling. So if I were to say, there's actually some really compelling facts here. I'm going to go to the next slide. So how is this person showing the story as opposed to telling us facts? So the facts here, I'm just going to minimize this. So this person could have said that 171 trillion pieces of plastic are floating in oceans, and every year more than 500,000 hermit crabs in Australia die from getting trapped in discarded plastic, which is shocking. But instead, because that is telling, it's less likely to bring us into the narrative, whereas story is more likely to. And so instead, the story opens with, I found this little guy walking on the beach wearing plastic, right? So can you see the difference there between telling facts and then also showing? So we want to try to show through story and anecdotes, vignettes, what we're trying to convey, even if it originates with a very shocking fact. That fact could come in the caption, for example, or it could come at the very end of the video. So another example that I wanted to give was about 5 or 6 years ago, I worked for a union and we represented the workers. So I worked in communications for this union. We represented the workers at Mobile Crisis. It's a 24-hour helpline for people who are in crisis. And we were going to run a campaign to raise awareness about the fact that I can't remember the full details of it, but at some point throughout the weekday, there was only one worker on at a time, scheduled at a time. That means that if 2 people are in crisis, and they're both calling in, only one of their phone calls is getting answered, and the other person is going to voicemail. And so we could have had a social media campaign with statistics and facts about how many people call during these times, how many people's phone calls are being sent to voicemail. Like, we could have done it that way. And instead we decided to do a video campaign in which we interviewed 5 or 6 mobile crisis workers. We spent probably 30 minutes interviewing each one, and we took those interviews and we edited them down into about a 1-minute video, pulling out only the clips where they showed the importance of their work through showing rather than telling. So, and then we ran this ad campaign on social media. And so rather than talking about these statistics, we had people telling stories about, taking clients shopping. And one of their clients said, this is the first time I've ever had my own pillow. Wow, right? Like, that's powerful storytelling. And so then through that, you can see the impact that these workers are having and why it's so important that they be supported and that it be resourced and staffed in the way that it should be. There were lots of other stories. Like, there were even lovely stories about how they had built relationships with their clients. And so on April Fool's Day, one of the clients played an April Fool's joke and then laughed about it for a week, so you're really getting these human emotional elements out in the story. And then people might be moved to to take action, right? After watching the video, this is really important. And so there was a call to action, call your MLA, tell them why this needs to change, right? But those details, about the actual issue, which was we needed more staff on it at once, those didn't factor into the videos. Those came in the caption, right? So you can take issues that you want to raise awareness about and really think, how am I going to show this through the storytelling, through the visuals, and not tell through facts? So one hands-on tactic for turning telling into showing is to ask yourself, like, let's say you want to make a video that shows how your organization is making a difference. Then you can ask yourself, how do I know that my organization is making a difference? Right? And then that will give you a list of all the anecdotes that you're going to talk about. Because in order to answer, how do I know that the organization is making a difference? Well, I know they're making a difference because I see the children playing on the structures that they built and they're laughing, right? So again, it forces you into telling a story. It forces you into showing. You can take it even on a smaller scale and say, let's say you're going to write a story about a friend and you're going to say like, my friend is kind. Okay, so that's telling. Like I'm telling you my friend is kind. So if I wanted to show you that my friend is kind through storytelling, I would say, well, how do I know? I'd ask myself, how do I know my friend is kind? Well, when I wasn't feeling well, they brought me soup, right? So there right now is like an anecdote that you could build around, right? So it's a really good hands-on tactic for how to bring stories out in your scripts and in your writing. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one. And the next tip for writing a compelling.
Oh, sorry, there's one person has their hand raised.
Yes. Okay, hi.
Just a question about that. So what about if the organization you're working with is with, vulnerable populations and, you don't want to be specific? How can you show that human element without, let's say you're working with kids. Obviously, you can't show the kids, you can't identify them. What kind of angle would you take in that sense?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's kind of similar to the video campaign that we ran with the mobile crisis workers. We obviously couldn't show clients and we obviously couldn't tell personal details about people who are in crisis. And that is also considered a vulnerable population. We were a union, so we had access to the workers. And so we interviewed the people who were working. They were willing to share their stories. And they actually talked about, so some of the questions we asked were like, what do you love about this job? What makes you proud? Share with us one of your proudest moments in your job, right? And so that gets them to start telling their stories that center them, but still showing the impact that they're having on people. So yeah, interviewing someone who's connected to the children or someone in the organization. Yeah. And you could also, as a worker, you could write, you don't have to interview people. If you are, if you are one of the workers, you could write your own first person story, again, by asking yourself these questions and crafting a script that you would then write and then record yourself reading. And then you could put images to it that don't show the children, but, coming up with other creative images. So another key to writing a compelling script is being detailed and specific as you can. So again, if we look at this script, I found this little guy walking on a beach wearing plastic. So I took out my handy bag of hermit crab shells, gave him a few houses to choose from. He liked the black striped one. Like that's really nice detail, right? Focusing. So I can imagine, even as I'm saying this, a black striped shell. I use this tactic a lot because when I work with audio and I often don't have visuals to show. And when I worked for CBC Radio, a producer told me, you're trying to paint pictures in people's minds. And the way to do that is through being very specific and detailed. So like I could say, for example, something very general, like we picked a lot of berries. Or I could say, we picked 17 pails of Saskatoon berries, right? And now you're all imagining 17 pails of Saskatoon berries, right? Because you have those details and those specifics to grab onto. And so even if you have images, you still want to tell very detailed stories in your audio narration or in your text. The other thing I always say is trying to, this comes with, I would say this comes with practice, but trying to write your script in a very casual way. Write it in the way that you speak. If you use slang, use slang. Don't use academic language. Don't use government speak. Don't use jargon. If you use contractions when you talk, use contractions. And the thing that comes with practice is trying to read it in a casual conversational tone. You want to imagine that you're telling the story to a friend and not to like an audience, like where you're guest lecturing, for example. And that comes with practice, and it can mean, you know, you spend a lot of time re-recording as you're delivering the script. But that's okay, because you can always edit it and you don't have to share your first recordings with anybody, right? So you practice it and you record yourself practicing it, and you try to get that conversational tone so that it actually sounds like I'm just telling you, I'm just talking casually with you. Yeah, so again, like taking your time voicing the script. And again, when I do it, sometimes I'll just hit record and I'll just go and go and go. And even if I make mistakes, I won't stop the recording. I'll just keep going, because you can always edit out those mistakes as well, which I'll show you how to do in CapCut. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to shooting videos with a smart device. And I'm wondering if anybody has any questions about script writing or storytelling before I move on. I can also take questions at the end as well. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Okay, so, and just a reminder, I could teach entire courses on these. So these are high level overviews, okay? Okay, so let's say you've written your focus statement and you know the story that you want to tell, and you're going to shoot it on your smart device. And so you want to, one of the first things you want to do is identify the platform that you're shooting for. So is this video going to be shared as an Instagram reel? Is it going to be shared for Facebook or TikTok or YouTube? And the reason that you want to do that is because the social media platform that you share it to will impact how you hold your phone, whether you're going to hold it like this vertically or whether you're going to hold it like this horizontally. Okay. Because if you were going to do, let's just go to the next slide here. If you were going to shoot for YouTube, you want to hold your phone like this. Otherwise, you're going to get those black bars on either side. Okay. So they all the social media platforms, they have specific aspect ratios, and I've included a link here. I'm assuming that these slides are going to get shared out. And so if you were to click on this link, it would show you all of those aspect ratios for each social media platform. But the one we're focusing on today are Instagram Reels, and this is the same for TikTok. So if you're going to do an Instagram Reel, you would just hold your phone vertically. Same with TikTok, you would hold it vertically. Okay, the other thing that is really, you can get away with not doing this, but I would recommend investing, if you can, in something to stabilize your phone. So this might be, I think I have a picture here, a smartphone holder or a tripod specifically for smartphones. So I have something like this. It's a tripod that will hold my phone, and you can position your phone either horizontally or vertically with something like this. Again, when you get these slides, you can click on the image, and it will take you to Amazon, which shows you the price. I think this one is like $26 or something like that. So they're not outrageously priced, these tools. And this will just keep your phone from shaking. Like, you will always have handshake if you hold your phone. You can also just get a holder that is not a tripod as well. Do I have a picture of that? No, but the next equipment that I would recommend is a gimbal. So this would be more, the first one is if you're gonna like do a selfie video and you're just gonna talk into the phone, then yeah, I would put it on a tripod. Same with if you're gonna interview someone, I would set it up on a tripod. Now, if you're gonna get footage of something where you're panning back and forth or you're zooming in and zooming out, then you would want a gimbal. It just helps you have smoother movement because you're able to grip that handle right here that would attach to your phone. And I can't remember the price of this one. It's a bit more money, but again, it's not needed. It just takes your video to the next level. Oops, and there I clicked on it. Can't seem to get back. There, okay. The other tip that I'll give, and I think this is the last one for shooting, is to get a variety of shots. And I have an example video here for you of somebody who went to a conference. And so they belong to an organization, they went to a conference, and they knew they were going to want to make a video of their experience at the conference. And I think this is a really good example of how the person panned from side to side, how they zoomed in and out with while they were shooting. You can always add zooming in and out after in CapCut, but it is also good to think about getting a variety of different shots when you're shooting rather than just holding your phone static. You also want to get some close-up shots, like go right in, and also some wider shots to show more context of where you are. It just makes your video more dynamic. So I'm not going to play this whole clip, but I will just play a few some of it, and then you can see the techniques that they're using for shooting. I was at this conference, by the way.
Adverb. Let me take you through my weekend at the National Queer and Trans Plus Community History Conference.
Sorry,
I
we
was
just can't see the video.
Adverb and talking about our work with the Edmonton Queer History Project.
We're seeing, Evie, we're just seeing the
You can't hear the voiceover?
page. No, we can hear the voice, but we're just seeing the Amazon page, not the video.
Oh, okay, hold on. Maybe what I'll do is, so you couldn't see when I went back to my slides, you couldn't see those? Maybe
No.
what I'll do is I'll stop share and then reshare because I just shared Google Chrome.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we're just seeing the Amazon.ca page.
Okay. Share. I'm just gonna share, I think, my desktop. Okay, let me stop share because I've lost my
I know.
slides.
It's happened to me before. Too many tabs. I totally get it.
Okay, you can see my screen?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, so let me just find this and then. Okay, let me know when I click on this if you can see the video.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay.
Through my weekend at the National Queer and Trans Plus Community History Conference. I was there representing Adverb and talking about our work with the Edmonton Queer History Project. Upon arrival, I was equipped with my trusty lanyard and a bunch of rainbow swag. The event kicked off with a queer history walking tour around downtown Edmonton. We split into two groups, one going with Michael Fair, of course in his yellow, and the other with Rob and Morgan. And we explored significant locations like the buildings that used to house Club 70 and Flashback, Michael Fair Park, and even the site of the Pisces Health Spa raids. The first day wrapped up with a lovely reception to officially launch the conference. The next morning, I got up bright and early and made my way to MacEwan. The event drew queer activists, historians, scholars from all.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it there. So I think that's a really good example of how dynamic the shots are. You see a lot of, here, I'll go back. See a lot of panning, close-ups. You even see the person taking the brochure and moving it in and out. So just really being creative with a variety of different shots too. And they're quick, right? Nothing stays on very long. It's very fast moving. And that's another really important technique, is making your videos more dynamic through very quick shots. You don't need to stay on the same shot for very long. Okay, so then I have just, I think, 2 tips for recording with audio, and then we're gonna move into the tutorial. So
Sorry,
again,
I'm sorry to interrupt you again.
yeah.
It just says loading on the presentation. You just might need a refresh.
Oh yeah, it says your screen sharing is paused. Let's try again. Can you see it now? Okay, I don't know what's going on. Okay, so this again is just a tip, but it's not necessary, but I would recommend using an external mic for your phone. And it enhances your audio sound, and you can get them for not too expensive. Your phone is fine if you're just, because again, it's a DIY aesthetic and sound on Instagram Reels, but it will take your sound quality to the next level. And so if this is one that I recommend, and it's a lapel mic, and you could clip it to your shirt, and then it plugs directly into your phone. This one is for iPhone. I'm sure they also have them for Androids as well. And again, when you get the slides, you can click on the link, and then you could go and find out how much it is and how to order it, and even look around at other ones. And then the other tip would be, and this is really important, so this one you do have to do, is record in a quiet room. It's like right now, I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a fan that constantly plays in my studio. I'm on campus right now, and I don't have any access to it. Like, I don't control it. I would never record in here. Like, you would hear shh underneath, it would pick it up. If you have a window that's open, it would pick up the traffic. If you have even like, let's say, like sometimes my air conditioning kicks in and I can hear that, it would pick that up, and it would be noticeable enough. So really thinking about the sounds in the space that you're recording. One thing that I did, it was very DIY for the Queering the Queen City audio walking tour and the Village Voices audio walking tour. I started to record my voice narration, and I listened back to it, and it was very echoey, because I don't know, my house just sounded echoey. And so what I did is I put a blanket over my head, and then I know it sounds funny, but it actually works really well. It just sort of, the sound quality was great, like, because it just pads it, and so then it doesn't sound so echoey. So I would be like holding the recorder, and then have a blanket over me, and I would hold my script, and I was reading it. And that's how I made the audio voice narration for Village Voices. So if you don't have access to like a sound studio, that's one DIY trick that you could use. But it's really important. Like, often if I hear a podcast and the sound quality isn't great, I just won't listen, because it's just so distracting to me. So that's something that's very key when you're recording audio. Okay, so the last thing that I would like, can you still see my screen? Because it says your screen sharing is paused. Yeah?
Yeah,
Yep.
you can.
I'm seeing number, like the recording
Yeah.
audio of the smart device. Yeah.
Okay. I do have another slide, but it's not letting me move forward. It's this one, I'm not sure. So anyway, what I'm gonna do now is go to my iPad, which is on here. So I'm gonna stop sharing this. I'm gonna share from my iPad. Could I get a sense from folks if you've downloaded CapCut, if you're gonna be following along, or if you're just gonna be watching? Let's see here if I can see everybody. Or maybe if you, while I'm setting up this screen share, if you could just type in the chat if you're following along. I just want to have a sense of how slow I need to go if you're also doing the actions with me. So I will stop sharing and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm on my iPad. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. There's just a little echo, so can I mute your other one?
I muted my mic.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly look at the chat here. Watching. Okay, so there's a fair number of people following along. So let's open up CapCut. And I've got this mouse associated with my iPad. So you should, because I was like, how are you gonna see what I'm tapping on? And so you should see this red circle here. So click open up CapCut. Okay. So I think what you might be seeing is different if you're opening it up for the first time. I might need a little bit of communication about what you're seeing. But if you go to edit at the bottom here, if you click on edit, and then you should see new project. Is that what you're seeing? Yeah. So let's click on new project. So this will then take you into all of your videos and your photos that are on your own device. And so you could choose a few, but before you do that, there's also library here, and CapCut provides some images and some video for you. Like I wouldn't use any of these in your own videos. I'm just gonna potentially use some of these just for the tutorial. And so if we think back to the lesson that I just gave and some of the tips, one of them was that, you know, we're focusing on Instagram videos for Instagram Reels. And so what I'm seeing right now are all horizontally shot videos. So if I go into maybe a different background, like actually if I scroll down, I might be able to find some vertical ones here, which I see here. So I'm going to click on that, and you can just click on the videos that you want to bring in. And when you have them selected, so I've got 4 selected here, then you can click add. And maybe Lynn, I will use, you're doing it, right? You're doing this?
Yep.
So maybe if you could let me know like how it's going, then I can, like if I need to slow down or if you're stuck on something. Does that work?
Yep, sure.
Okay. Okay, so Lynn, do you have your videos in CapCut?
I'm just adding them right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So the way this is set up is everything that is down here And again, I'm assuming you're all using a smart device, but there is also, you can also use this on a desktop. It just looks different. So I'm teaching this from an iPad, so that's what I'm seeing here. So everything down here is called your timeline. And the way it works is if I were to hit play, everything that is to the left is going to play first. So hitting play, and can see how everything is sort of sliding from right to left. And I'm gonna pinch it just to make it a bit smaller so I can see the rest. Now, if I just scroll through this, then it's gonna go to what is positioned beside that video and what is positioned beside that video. So everything that is on the left plays first. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because you can actually layer things here too. Like if I wanted to, sometimes you've seen those TikTok videos where there's like a head speaking in the bottom corner. So you could bring a video of yourself speaking and position it in the bottom corner of this video. And then it would go on a new layer. So we can try that out. So we could, to do that, you would go down to overlay. And then add overlay. And you can just choose any video really. Choose this one. And add that in. Now, because we chose overlay, you can see that it put it on a new track, right? And so now when I play the video, oh, it's actually, yeah, so you can see it overlaid there. You're looking at the screen there. And so the way to move it is if you can tap on that video and hold until it becomes grayed out. And then you can just slide it to wherever you want it to go. So maybe I want it to come in later. Or maybe I want it to be under this clip. You would move it along the timeline like that. Now, if I wanted to move the video so that it was positioned lower and not covering the rest of the video, then I would click on it. And so you see the white bars that go around it. You can take your 2 fingers and you can just go right onto this area of the screen where the image is. And you can zoom in and out, or with 1 finger, you can just drag it to the bottom corner. And so imagine that this video was actually somebody talking. That's how people would make those TikTok videos of, you know, a head that's talking in the bottom of the screen. And then you could change the images behind that person talking. Okay, so we're working with a timeline and with layers. So how are you doing, Lynn?
I'm having difficulty moving moving it to the right place on the timeline, but that's.
Okay, so one thing you can do is, if you're having difficulty, others probably are too. So one thing I like to do is just like pinch the timeline so that everything becomes a bit bigger so I can actually grab it. So you can like pinch the timeline, things become bigger. And then you can touch on that video. And then do you see the white bars around it?
Yep.
So once there's white bars around it, then you take, you're gonna move up to this area here on the screen. See where and with you can either use one finger to just drag it around like that. Or if you want to actually move this clip here, you're gonna hold down with 1 finger until it becomes grayed out. Is that happening?
Yep.
And then you can just drag it. You can slide it with that 1 finger. How did that work?
Well, I'm not sure what it's gonna, something happened, but I'm not sure what it's gonna look like in the end.
That's okay. mine looks terrible. We're just playing, I'm just trying to show you what is possible in CapCut. So let's go back, and there's some key things. So when you first bring your video in, I talked about aspect ratio, remember? And so one of the things that you can do is, let's go to the beginning. So everything, all the actions that you're going to do are at the bottom here, at the bottom of the screen. And if we look for aspect ratio, it's right here. So this is something that you should do like as soon as you bring your video in, click on aspect ratio. And these are the options that it gives you of like, remember I said if you were going to shoot for YouTube, you would have horizontal. So if you were going to shoot for YouTube, you would probably choose 16:9 this way. But because we're doing an Instagram reel, it's the same as TikTok. We're going to choose 9:16. It's this one here that's vertical. So choose that. And then when you're done, you can just hit check mark. Okay, so we have the right aspect ratio there. Now, I'm going to go through a few things, adding text, adding transitions, and audio. So those are the three things I'm going to focus on right now. So, and also how to cut. So right now I have this video clip and it's quite long. Remember we said we want very short video clips. And so I don't really need to show, you know, 40 seconds of this lake, right? So one thing I can do is I can tap on it. And then you see the white bars around it. Now, let's say I want 5 seconds of this clip. So I'm gonna drag the timeline so that my cursor, so this is your cursor here, this bar here. I'm gonna drag it so that it is under 5 seconds. And once I have it positioned under 5 seconds, I'm gonna go down here and click split. So now it has split the clip into 2 clips. Okay, so everything that comes before from 0 to 5, I want to keep because I want 5 seconds of this video. And everything after, I'm going to delete. So I'm going to then clip on the second clip. So now they have the white bars. And then you go down to the bottom and you just click delete. Okay, so the split tool is really useful. It allows you, if you have, let's say you've interviewed somebody, you have a video recording of somebody talking, like, you know, how I did those 30-minute interviews and I was going to cut them down into 1 minute. So everywhere that I put a split, it allows me to then delete portions of the clip. So let's say that this were a clip of someone talking, and I wanted to delete, let's say they said something and I didn't want to keep it. So I would go to where I wanted to cut, and I would click on the clip, and then I would click on split. And then let's say here, everything in between 15 seconds and 20 seconds, I don't want, I just move the cursor, move it forward, and I add another split. Then I go back to where I added the 2 splits and I hit delete. Okay, so this allows you to remove anything that you don't want. How are you doing, Lynn?
Got it.
Great. Okay, so the other thing that's useful is you can speed up and slow down clips. So let's say I want to keep this one, but I don't want it to be that long and I want it to be really fast. You tap on it and then you just go down to speed here. I use normal a lot, so I'll click on normal. And this is where you can speed it up. You can make it twice as fast. You can make it 5 times fast, 10 times fast, whatever you want. And so I'll try 2. And then I'll hit the check mark and then I'll watch it. So you can just hit play. So this is really good. If like you're showing, let's say you're showing the conference, or you're showing yourself walking. So remember we watched that video where she was walking to the conference, and you know, I don't walk pretty slowly, and I don't want to show, like, I don't want a lot of walking, right? But I just want to show it very quickly, so you could speed it up. So it's like quick movement, right? The other thing that you can do here is adding, there's two things you can do here. So for text, so you can add captions. So let's say that this video had text. You could actually, if the whole video has text, you can click on, okay, so do you see this arrow right here?
Uh-huh.
So click on that. And then there's an option down here that's captions or even transcript. So you can click on either one and it will give you the option to add your own captions or to transcribe the audio, and it'll produce automatic captions. And then you can go in and edit those captions if they make mistakes. So this is really useful because then you don't have to type out everything that was said. And remember how important it is to have captions, because sometimes people don't actually click in to hear the video sound. They just will read the captions as they're watching the video. So that's really useful. Clicking on transcript there. The other thing is if you want to add text onto the screen. So you can just go right down here where it says text. And then click on add text. And then a text box enters and you should be able to just start typing. So it goes there. And then again, you can manipulate this. So I can, with one finger, I can drag it up or down. The other thing that's awesome about CapCut is there are so many effects. And so you can see underneath down here, you can click on effects and you can change the look of the title however you want. The one thing is, yeah, so you can see how each box has the word pro in it. You want to avoid those because even though it'll allow you to select them, when you go to export your video, it's going to prompt you to pay for the pro version if you've used anything that says pro. So there are still lots of options for the basic free account. So you could choose how you want the text to look just by tapping on it. You can also go to animations, and this will add some movement to your text. So again, avoiding the pro. And but maybe I want the text to spell itself out like this. So you can choose that. So yeah, lots of different options within text under animations and effects. Are you following still, Lynn?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions?
It's more complicated than it seems. I think we'd really have to play around with this a lot.
You do have to, it is a hands-on thing that you have to practice, but once you know the basics and you start using it, it's actually like, this is really user-friendly. Especially that you can tap and like, it's really just drag and drop, like you're tapping the effects rather than building them in. But yeah, so the way I kind of think of it, sometimes I like always coming back to this arrow will get you out of things and back into things too. So if I click out of it, and let's play the video here, what's happening. So we've got an opening scene, it's not too long, and we've got the title, and then we've got these these lines here. See these white lines? So these are transitions. So this allows you to bring in really dynamic transitions that if you're making something that's like exciting and fast paced, you can click on this transition, click on the white box. Seems to be slow with loading. And then you have all these options for how you want one clip to move to the next clip. So again, a lot of these are pro, but I could choose this, for example, or this one, and it should give you a preview. Okay, so I just selected one, and now if I watch it, you can see how the clip moves from one clip to the next one. So you can also make your transitions quite dynamic. How's everyone doing?
This is fun.
It can be fun. You can add some pretty wild things. I would recommend like not getting too wild, because then people will tend to focus on like the structure and not really the story. So you want to be choosing transitions that are really supporting the narrative. You know, like you're not going to bring in some wild transition if you're like telling an emotionally sad story, right? But if you're trying to, you know, do something exciting and it's adventurous, the story is adventurous, you can bring in these dynamic transitions. Okay, so I'm gonna maybe show you how to add audio. So there's two things. So if we had video clips where the audio was in the video, it's part of the video. So like I record myself talking to the camera and there's video in and there's audio in there. You're not going to see the audio when you bring it in to CapCut. And so what you would have to do to put that audio on a new layer is, I think you would click on the clip and then go to the bottom. Yes, oops. Let's go back in there. So you click on the clip, you go to the bottom and you should see right here, there's one that says extract audio. So there's no audio with this video clip, but if there were, like the scenario I just described, you would click extract audio and then it would place your audio on a layer below your video clips. So to show you how you would then edit your audio, I'm just going to add some audio. So what I'm going to do is click right here where it says add audio. And I'm going to go to sounds in the bottom here. And I'm just going to choose some music that they have built in. Again, I wouldn't use this music. I don't know the royalties or the copyright issues with it. There are some sites where you can purchase royalty-free songs if you want to add songs. But just for the purpose of this, I'm going to choose some song. And I have no idea what this is going to sound like, but we'll choose this one. So you just select it, and then click plus button. Okay, so now if you did that, you should see an audio track. And this will allow you, so again, if we had extracted the audio, your audio would appear like this from your video. So this allows you now to zoom in and edit the audio. So for example, if I click on the audio track, you get the white bars around it, and then you have all these options down here. So let's say I want the music to fade in, for example, I could click on fade, and you have fade in. So I want the music to fade in, so you can just drag this circle over. And I also want the music to fade out, so it's not like an abrupt ending. And you can also drag this circle. You can drag it as much as you want. And you can see now look at the audio file, you can see this line that has come in to show that it was dated. The other thing that you could do is adjust the volume of the clip. So if it's too quiet, you can make the audio louder. One thing that's really important is when you're recording audio, it's always important to record it air on the softer side rather than the louder side. If you record it too loud, you'll get peaking and it'll be distorted and you can't adjust that. But if you record it too quiet, you can always raise the levels. And it actually works quite well. Okay, so any questions now? How is everyone doing? We have about 9 minutes left. So these are the basics. Like this should, if with this, and you'll have a video recording, I think, of this tutorial. Is that right, Lynn? Yeah. So you can always come back and watch it again. But this gives you the basics of how to piece together a video with sound. Again, you move the audio the same way that you would move clips. So you tap on it and you hold your finger down until it grays out, and then you can slide it this way. So if you want the audio to play with the first clip, or if you don't want the audio to come in until the second clip, you just slide along the bar, along the timeline like that. You can also, let's say I put this clip, it came in second, but I actually want it to be first. You do the same thing, hold on it, and then you can just drag it over. So it's really easy, actually, like fairly user-friendly when you want to move things around, when you want to add cuts, if you want to speed things up, make them slower. You can also, at the end here, we have the CapCut logo. You can just delete that. So again, you just tap on it. You can go to delete at the bottom down here. And let's say you want to bring in your own logo. One thing you can do, any guesses as to what you would do? I did show it right away at the beginning of how to position a clip or a picture over another one. So does anybody have their hand up? No.
We'd use overlay.
Yes. So you would select the clip, like if you wanted to bring, I don't know, this video is really annoying in that corner, but let's say you wanted to bring your logo on top of this video clip at the very end of the video. So you would tap on it and then you would select, actually you would just go back and select overlay. Where did overlay go? Oh, you have to go all the way back. Remember I said if you get lost, just keep hitting the back arrow. So select overlay and then add overlay. And then you would bring your logo into your device. And so it would be in your camera and then you would select it and then you could overlay it. Okay. Anything else? Anybody have questions about CapCut?
Evie, do you have any, can you suggest any kind of resources that, you know, if somebody wanted to dive a little deeper, you know, any kind of online tutorials or anything that you could suggest that, you know?
Yeah. There's a ton of tutorials on CapCut. So if you were to just search the thing you want to do in a CapCut tutorial, you'd find it. There are a ton on YouTube. I could, when I send you my slides, I could share a few that are intro to CapCut. You can also come back to this video and take it at your own pace. Kimberly, hi. You have your hand up.
Sorry, it took me a second to unmute myself. I've noticed when I started up, CapCut's accessing all my videos, which is great. But what if I want to drop a still into this video? I went to my picture side and nothing's coming up. So is it just a matter of allowing access to my photos? for CapCut?
Yeah, because I'm able to add photos. You do it the exact same way, but where it says videos, there it says photos, and so you click
Okay.
on photos. So I think you just have to
I just mightn't have given them access to that.
yeah.
Okay, super, thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions? Andrew, yeah.
Yeah, out of curiosity, I know a lot of companies and nonprofits, they're super focused on the Adobe Creative Suite. So Premiere Pro is probably the most popular, but I find that CapCut is probably a little bit better. I mean, you could do it on a phone, as you mentioned. What's a way of convincing, companies to maybe switch to CapCut or any of the other third parties, where you're able to just do it remotely? What would be some good tips for me to share with them?
Okay, well, I use Premiere Pro. I use the Adobe Suite too, but it is, and they're considered professional level, like for filmmakers. CapCut is so user-friendly. You do not need a film background to do this because it is so drag and drop, and you can, like, I don't, I feel like filmmakers would kind of be upset with CapCut because it makes it so much easier that you don't need the background in film editing. But you can, because it's drag and drop, you wouldn't have to spend the time and the money training your employees to learn Premiere Pro. Like I did learn Premiere Pro on the job through training where the company that I was working for brought in somebody to teach us how to use Premiere Pro. With CapCut, there's so many tutorials. You could have your employee watch some tutorials and then they can do the same effects. You can even add keyframes, which I could, maybe I'll send a tutorial on that because I'm running out of time, but you can add zooming in and panning out within CapCut with simply tapping. So it is to the organization's benefit in terms of not having to train employees. And then also you're still teaching a skill to the employee if they don't have experience with CapCut, but they will pick it up more quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Awesome.
and it's dynamic, right? And I think CapCut is actually, I'm making an assumption here, but it's almost tailored for the social media video, right? Like it's using all of those, everything that you see in TikTok videos and Instagram Reels. You can do that in CapCut with just tapping.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. Just a couple minutes left. Any other questions? There's also, like, I'll just very quickly show you effects. So if you click on this video and then you scroll down to effects, there are so many video effects, click on that, video effects that you can bring in. Again, not wanting to choose Pro, but again, like, I don't even think you need to make your videos this flashy. This would be if you are doing something like, it depends on like the type of story you're telling. If you're telling a really adventurous, fast-paced nightclub story, for example, then you might want to bring in some of these. But so it's again like tapping on it and there's a flash, or you can even add a glitch effect to your videos, right? They're all built in. I was playing around with this with children yesterday. They were adding butterflies, animated flowers, like, like maybe not something for a nonprofit, but there is so much you can add in terms of effects to your videos. And so I think I will leave it there unless there are any more questions. Again, you'll be getting the slides, you'll be getting the video recording. My advice is to play around with it. You have your own personal videos that you've taken. Like, I think last night I was like playing around with it with a group of people. Somebody had gone to Vancouver and went to the aquarium and made a nice little video, like with the videos in their phone from the aquarium in Vancouver. So just start like with personal videos, add the effects, play around with the audio, and you'll just come to get to know it. And I will send a few links for introductions to CapCut tutorials as well.
Wow, well, thank you so much, Evie. That was
Yeah.
a great introduction to this pretty cool program.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. And I hope that you're not too afraid of it. It's you know, it's very accessible. Just takes some practice. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a really practical session, which I think is so helpful because, as you say, sometimes it feels overwhelming, but when you kind of go through the steps and get started, I feel like that's the biggest piece, right? Is getting started. And I will say I have used this for like making videos before, and it's super user friendly. So.
Oh, and I guess when you're finished, you would hit export. I didn't get to that part, but again, if you get to that point, you can always look for a tutorial on how to export your video from CapCut. Okay, well, I see that the comments in the chat, and you're welcome. I hope this is useful for you, and I can't wait to see all the videos that you make.
Well, I'm gonna try my little corgi at the dog park swimming in the Stinky Creek.
Oh, that's awesome. Everybody loves a dog video.
Well, thank you. Thanks again, Evie. That was a really remarkable presentation, and thanks everybody for joining us today. And hopefully, we'll see you next time.
Yes, take care. Bye.